Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we are just gonna do a short build tutorial. Actually, I don't know how short it'll be. Probably not that short. Just because I'm, super nitpicky and detail oriented. But today we're gonna do a build tutorial on a small starter home that's actually really cheap. And these are just sort of some tricks and things I've picked up from playing a lot of legacy challenges and rags to riches and things like that. So this is sort of what our house is going to look like when we finish up with it, and this is I'll show you. It's actually a lot cheaper if you have city living, because you can use all of the sort of well-used stuff that's a lot cheaper. But this is sort of what our house will look like in the end, and of course you can do some variations on this and just take some tips from here that I've learned and all of that. But anyway, this is what our house looks like with just the base game stuff. And it does cost us about $7,000. So if you are starting a legacy challenge or whatever, and you factor in the 1,800 simoleons you get to start with, that you probably used on like the bed and the bathroom stuff and a fridge, then it only costs you about 5,000. So you only have to get about 5,000 to get this sort of like a little simple starter home, and it works for 2 sims as well, because this is actually functional over here. You can see, I'll turn grids back on. You can see on our grid here, there's a little half grid square on either side of the bed, so sims can actually walk through there and get to each side of the bed. But anyway, so this is what it would look like with just the base game stuff. And this is what it would look like with all the city living stuff. And this actually takes the price down to about 6,000 total. So 4,000 if you have your 1,800 in the start. So as you can see, I've used like these counters and stuff here that you get from city living, and the futon. And this table I actually really like. It only costs 45 simoleons. It's really cheap. It's actually cheaper than that crate I had earlier. It's about 10 simoleons cheaper, I believe. So yeah, it still looks the same. And of course, if you have dine out, you can use these nice dine out stuff here that we've got, but we will get into that in a moment. So we're not going to build this from scratch. I'm going to bulldoze this and do our best to rebuild that. I think I've got it ingrained in my memory. So usually I start my legacy challenge out and I get a little bathroom. So a 2x3 bathroom, six tiles all together, is plenty of space for what you saw, which was a sink, a toilet, and a shower. And that's really all you need in the beginning. That's all you really need. Let's be real. So we're gonna then build 4 little wall tiles out, and you don't have to keep these exact dimensions, of course. But that's just what I used last time, and that's how I'm going to show you guys how to build it today. So here we go. We've got this going, and just right away, it's a very basic shape, guys. Shouldn't be any difficult for you guys to make. And we are going to add this little foundation here, this porch here, because we're going to do that split leveling room that we had earlier. And that is actually going to cost us a little bit of money up front, so we're going to have to go in and build this wall first. And I suppose you could do a fence or something, but a wall's just easier for me. And as long as you have the money for it, it's not a big deal. So now we're going to take our foundation up, and we're just going to do it up 1 height. So your sims can actually, unless you're on a weird lot, some of the lots are weird heights and elevation and stuff, and they can't actually just walk up one little foundation level, but for most of the lots they can. So, and if you can't do that, then you can take these stairs, and they actually cost a fair amount. So you want to take these little ladder-like stairways and put them in there, and you can just do 1 step, or you can extend it to do a couple. But in most lots, you're not going to need that. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to make this split level. So we're going to delete that floor, and then we're going to come back and delete this wall. Alright, and so now you probably have noticed that we have a giant hole in our ceiling, which is okay, because we're just going to go up here and put these in there. They are like, there's just flat square rooms, and they are free, so we're just going to build another room basically on top of this. But that's just going to be our roof. We're not going to go up to a second level or anything. So the next thing we want to do is we are going to go ahead and put in some half walls. So it actually defaults you to this half wall. But I'm going to use this one because it's got a little more privacy since this is going to be our bedroom. Yeah, it is going to be our bedroom. So we're going to actually made this one square too small. So, you know, don't mind me. If you do screw up, you can just move things around. It's really easy in Sims 4. Real easy, and then you can come up here and just extend that out. There we go. Problem solved. Alright, so this should be, sorry about that guys, this should be plenty of space for you to get all of your whole kitchen in there. The kitchen actually takes up the most space. Get your whole kitchen in there, as well as your little living room area and all of that. And of course, how you decorate this and all of that will change on your tastes and what kind of career your sim is in and things like that. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go and put a door in, first a front door. And I'm gonna use this one because it's really cheap and it actually looks really nice. And we're going to be building in a modern style because of this door for the most part, because honestly a lot of the modern things, the modern style things in the game are really cheap. So that's what we're going to be, that's sort of the style we're going to go with, just because it's so much more inexpensive compared to, you know, like the traditional stuff and things like that. And you'll see that better when we get into wall paints and things like that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to go through and I'm going to go through and furnish this how I had it in the sort of the beginning part. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a little breakfast bar to be our table. You could fit a dining table if you wanted to, like you could fit the very small dining table in here if you wanted to. And just seat like a couple people at it. That works too. But I like the look of this. I think it looks more finished and everything. It actually costs a little more depending on what table you get because you have to pay for the counters. But if you have city living, it's not a big deal again. So just grab a couple bar stools. You can put one there if you want to. Again, all up to preferences. Eventually, you would want to put a little trash can here. And then you would obviously need, I like these ones. I don't really like the other trash cans. Then you would want a trash can out here. But we're not going to do that right now because trash cans are expensive and you don't actually need them. They're not really a luxury, but they're sort of a luxury because there's no real reason to have them. So, right here, you guys can see the fridge is kind of glitching through the wall here. We're not going to worry about that. So we're going to cancel that for a second. We're going to put our stove in. And going back to the fridge here, we're going to use the white one. And we're just going to, you don't even need move objects on for this. You just got to hold down Alt, and then it'll let you freely place it wherever you want instead of snapping it to the grid. So we're going to come back over here and just move it a little close to the stove. So that way it's not glitching through the wall, but they'll still be able to use it and everything. You could put your fridge over here, but I like to have the fridge doors open towards the kitchen rather than if it was over here, then it would sort of be opening like this, and it doesn't really matter for Sims, but if it was my house, I would want the doors to open to the kitchen. So it's sort of just a taste of how to build, how you want your house to look. So the next step is going to be putting the kitchen sink in. If you don't mind having what looks like a bathroom sink in your kitchen, then go ahead and put this one in because it's only $125. But otherwise, you want to be using either this one, which is fine, it looks like a kitchen sink, or for 5 simoleons more, which is actually really cheap, you can use this one, which looks a bit more modern and everything. So I usually use this one just because it's really not much more than buying this one. It's only 5 simoleons. That's not really a big deal. Like, that's one meal maybe, and you can just, you know, have some cereal instead. It's fine. So next we're going to be moving on into our living room. And obviously you could use this if you wanted to. It's only going to be $150. But you'll probably want to be using this this love seat here. This love seat for your Sims. And, you know, do whatever color you want. It's got a modern style. Again, the modern ones are cheaper. And it's got a bunch of different colors. So if you actually look at this here, with the expansion packs and everything, probably the cheapest non-super modern couch that I would use would be this one. And even this one just sort of looks like it's more of an outdoor chair. So you would probably want to go all the way, unless, I mean, this one still is modern. You would probably end up having to go all the way over to here for a more traditional looking one. Unless I'm just overlooking one, which is entirely possible. But there's this one too that's sort of eh. And these ones, I don't really like having the wood armrests. Like, you want a fluffy, cushy armrest, right? So you gotta go pretty deep into it, and so the first one you get is 460 simoleons, which is really a big deal when you're playing a legacy challenge or a rags to riches and you don't have much money. So moving on, we've got this. If you have city living, you have this end table, which is really nice because it looks really nice and modern, but it's really cheap. It's actually the cheapest nightstand because the only other one is this one that's the same price, and that's a kid's nightstand. But if you don't have city living, then you can go ahead and grab this crate, or you can use this one, or if you really don't like those, then you can just use this one as in the base game. And that one's actually going to be 65, so compared to this one is going to be 20 simoleons more. Again, it definitely matters. Doesn't seem like much in the initially, but it really does matter for rags to riches and things like that. And then of course you'll want to grab the cheap TV, and you can go ahead and, if you have the Sims 3 camera on, just go ahead and free rotate it a little bit so that it looks more like it's angled towards the couch. So there we go. We've got our living room here pretty much finished. You can actually add, this wasn't in like the preview section, but you can actually add this rug here if you want to. It's got a bunch of different colors. It's supposed to be a kid's rug, but it's got some nice colors. You could use the blue one, or you could use the gray one, and then you could size it up so that it just sort of just fills a little bit of space here. So something to think about if you want to use that. Now we're gonna move on to the bedroom area, and as you can see, we don't currently have a floor. It's probably been bothering you for a while. I wasn't really paying attention to it. So we're just gonna grab this construction quality concrete. It's the same stuff that the game automatically builds. And we're just gonna build ourselves a little floor down there. So there we go. That's all fixed. And if you look at this concrete, we're gonna turn our grids off here by pressing G. It has a bunch of different colors. So there we go. You can see all the different colors on there. Well, I'm actually gonna use the white one, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take this one and make it gray. Is it already gray? Okay. I'm going to leave that one at the default gray. Sometimes I wonder if it's the beige or the gray that it starts at, but yeah. I'm going to leave it at the default gray. You could do like black or something like that, but basically just giving that room sort of its own identity over there, giving it some differentiation from the other room. So in our bedroom here, you probably already have a bed, and you can, like I said earlier, do a double bed in this area. It is just 3 tiles, but like I said, they can fit in those. Your Sims will fit, and it is totally functional to use those half tiles on the side. So you'll probably be using this one if it's a double bed. If it's a single bed, then this is probably one, or maybe this one. And obviously if it's a single bed, there's going to be a lot more room. You could put the single bed there, and then put like a dresser or whatever right there. And then you'd actually have some space for a desk or anything like that, an easel, something like that. But we're gonna function as though we've got a double bed, because that's what I like to use. It's a double bed because it does actually support 2 Sims. You know, if your Sim's gotten married but you don't have kids yet, then this house will definitely work. So for a dresser, obviously you don't need a dresser, and then you could put like a desk or an easel or anything over here, but I like to play under the rule of, if you don't have a dresser and a mirror, then you can't change your Sim's appearance. And so it's sort of like they don't ever get to buy new clothes. That's sort of my own personal rule. So I always like to have a dresser in my houses. So I would probably use this Kindermaid dresser and then just do the white swatch, because the other ones are pretty childish looking, but it still has some of these weird like green knobs on the front. So the other one that I actually really like is, it's actually 50 simoleons more, but I really like this Cozy Cubby. And you can just grab like one of the neutral swatches, like the black one or the gray one or the white one that it defaults to, or this, all of these other ones are going to have these little pictures on them. And we don't want that. So I just like to grab that one right there. And it doesn't take up a lot of space. It doesn't look like it takes up space. And it's just a nice little sort of modern dresser for you. If you think it looks too childish, then, you know, you could go ahead and go all the way up to, you could use this one, or I would probably use this dresser, because if you're getting all the way up to 530 for the dresser, you might as well spend the extra 30 simoleons to make it look nice, honestly. That's my logic behind it. So, moving into the bathroom here, you again probably already have at least a toilet and a shower. I'm gonna put the toilet in the middle just because I would rather have the first thing you walk into be the sink, if that makes any sense at all. Again, doesn't remotely matter for Sims, but yeah, just a really basic bathroom. Just get the cheap toilet, a cheap shower, a cheap sink, and the cheap mirror. No big deal. Not anything fancy needed for the bathroom. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to get some lights going here, because it is pretty dark in here right now. We'll add some windows later, but we're going to just grab this little wall light, which is actually really cheap. If I do a painter a lot of times with my legacy challenges and stuff, so you make a lot of money real fast. But you also get this light that comes with it as one of the, you get it for like the first level up, or the first promotion. So it's sort of like a free light you can use in your bathroom. But if you don't have that, then you can just go ahead and use this $40 one. No big deal. And then for our main room, we're just going to use one ceiling light. And ceiling lights are a bit more expensive. You could use these ones. This is actually the cheapest one. But again, it's a kid's light, and I don't really like it. I don't like this one. I also don't like this one. So I really like using this one from Get to Work. But if you don't have Get to Work, then I would just use the Snowball. This sort of paper lantern looking one. Just because it fits in with the whole modern theme. And it does have a lot of light, so it'll be lighting up this entire room in here. So next thing we're gonna do is, now that we've got everything furnished and everything, we can check our price here. And that is most of it. We're at 6,000 right now. So we're just gonna do the finishing touches of this place. If we check out our construction quality concrete, I'm gonna grab a colored swatch of that and go ahead and put that in the bathroom, just so we've got a little color going on in there. And then we're gonna take some wall paints, and we're actually gonna use these tiled ones just because it looks nice to have a nice tiled bathroom, and because it's gonna be the same price, it's gonna be 2 simoleons either way, so you might as well. And then outside, we're gonna start on the outside here. We are going to, if you have Dine Out, I really like using these. And that's just because they have a really nice, just really good brick texture, and then you can use the unbent smoothness on the inside so that it looks like your sim has basically painted over the bricks from the inside. Plus the bricks have a really nice modern feel to them. But since we can't actually do that, we are gonna take this blue swatch, because, you know, I like blue, obviously. You could use any of the swatches you want to. You could use white or gray or whatever you want to use. I'm gonna use the blue one. And we're just gonna go through and paint the outside of the house. And you'll actually notice with the split leveling, it did sort of screw up. It doesn't count this area as a room. So when you hold shift, you see when I hold shift out here, and then if you look inside, it actually is painting the whole wall. So we're gonna hold alt instead, and it's just gonna paint this side, as you can see. And then on the inside, we're just gonna switch to white. I personally like mine to be white. I don't know what it is. I like my walls to be white. They just looks a lot cleaner, and I like how they look. You could also use, hold on, I'm gonna paint this little half wall here. I like to do the half wall a different color as well, just sort of like an accent color. Especially when everything inside is white. White, 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 white. Then you can use color on everything else. But you could also use, if you don't want to use the bricks, you could also use these colors. So this one's actually going to be $2 as well. But these basic darks has a lot of good colors in it. And there's some pastels and the standards. If you get up to here, then it's going to be $4 per square, which is the only way you're going to get white. You can do, if I can find it, there is a almost white color swatch in the pastels, I believe. Yeah, this looks basically like white. So we've got this same, it is the same thing here, and if you look, it's almost the same thing. When you put them right next to each other, you can tell that it isn't white. It actually looks more gray than purple. I think it's supposed to be purple. But if you want to use the paint, I would probably use that. Just use the really light purple swatch because it looks basically like it's white up against everything else. So yeah, so we're going to call that the end of the interior painting and exterior painting and all of that. We're going to move on to roofing. So the one thing you always need to know about roofing is that it's free. Everything about roofing is free. Painting the roof is free. Giving it roof trim is free. All of that good stuff. So we're just going to take this little half gable roof because I think it looks really good with modern design for houses and stuff. And we're just going to make a little, we're going to cover this whole area here with one tile, and then this part here, I put the bathroom outset like that. You could, I mean, you could just make it a box, and then this space would be a little smaller, but it would still be functional and everything. And then the house would just be a box, no big deal. But because I brought this bathroom out a little bit, it just gives it a little bit of extra character and definition to it that you sort of need for this, that you sort of need for houses, and it really helps them look better. So we're gonna grab I just grabbed the eyedropper tool and grabbed that same color I used on the outside of the house and put it on the roof. And then for the roofing, we're actually gonna put these corrugated metal ones on there because I feel like they look fairly modern, and it also looks sort of like a cheap house. You know, got like the metal tin roof on it. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Of course, you could use any of them that you want to, because as you can see, all of them are $0. All of them cost nothing. You could use whatever you want. But yeah, so then I just went through, and while I was talking, I went through and grabbed the, just this square roof trim here. You could use this one too, but I don't like how it looks. And then this one is just, sort of smooths out. It takes away that extra level underneath, and then this one's the same one that's already there. So I like to use this one just because it squares off the roof, makes it look a little cleaner, but it isn't like super bulky or anything. And then what else you can do is you can, while you've still got your roof trim selected and everything, just hover over the roof itself and click it, and you'll see it's added this little line here, which I actually really like sometimes because it just helps to separate that roof from the house, especially when you've got a lot of the same color going on and everything. It's nice to break that up. So that's what we've done here. Now, the next thing we're going to do, and I tend to get a little crazy with windows, so you definitely don't have to do exactly what I'm doing, but I like to take these little windows, these light box windows, because again, they look like modern windows. And I just like to put them on sort of the top. Like if you go up any further, it wouldn't let you place them. I like to put them on that top sort of level of window placement and just kind of wrap them around the corners of the house, because there's not really enough space. If you were to put one of these windows here, it would look a little weird because it's right next to the door and right in between the corner as well. I like to put those big windows in the middle sections. So we're going to put one right, you can put it either, but I'm going to put it right there. And then I'll put a couple on this side. And one on this side. So now we've got this all nice and symmetrical, got a lot of natural light coming in. And if we go up here, it actually looks pretty good. The front, again, there's no big windows in the front, but these little ones do add the sort of definition and detail that you need while also giving a little bit of light. And then on the sides and everything, you've got the windows that you need that are going to be letting in a lot of light. So now, the last thing we're going to do, sorry about that, is we've pretty much finished the house, and you can stop here if you want to. But first of all, we don't have a mailbox. So we're going to grab that. And I actually like the black and white one, this Oasis Springs mailbox, because it looks modern. It's a little, I mean, it's a little excessively modern, but, you know, what can you do? So I like to use that one a lot of times. And I'll just do the black and white swatch because that sort of matches our roof and everything. And looks good in contrast against the walls. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move the lot because we moved a little close. Oh, hold on, let's move the lot. Here we go. We're just going to move it back a little bit. And then we're going to add some terrain paints. So terrain paints also are free. You can always make your lot look better by adding a little bit of terrain paint. So we're just going to add these pebbles here, and there we go. Just add a nice little path right here. And you can see it just lets it look like it's actually a used house. Somebody actually lives here, they actually walk along this path, and it just sort of finishes it off, I feel like. And then, something I like to do is I like to add a little trim around the house. So I like to take the softness. You can take the softness down a little bit, but we're just going to add a little trim around the house. It sort of makes it look like it belongs here, you know. It's been there for a little while, the grass is sort of, you know, maybe you put like insect killer around your house or something and it kills the grass. But it just makes it look a little bit more less perfect, I should say. It makes it look like the house belongs there and it's been there for a while. And not just it's some weird building that has been plopped down onto this perfect greenness, on all this perfect green, and, you know, just a random house has been plopped down. It makes it look a little bit more natural. And then we're going to add a little bit underneath the mailbox here. You can sort of try and blend it in at the house here. And then what I like to do is take your softness all the way down, and you can either make like a little gradual line here of like where the mail lady walks, or you can do it towards the little pathway that you already have, and then just make it a little bit, just blend it in a little bit by making a little bit more dense and a little bit more defined down where the little part next to the mailbox is. Alright, and that's it, guys. So if we check here, our house is worth $6,977. So there we go. It is just under $7,000, and that's how much it's going to cost you to build this house. And it's a nice little starter house. I like how it is. And then you can go through if you don't need to expand for space or anything like that, then you can go through and replace the furniture and everything with nicer things. And then eventually expand once your sim starts having kids and stuff. So yeah, that's basically it, guys. And like I said, that will shave off, if you have city living and use the city living stuff, it will shave off 1,000 simoleons, which is actually a pretty substantial amount. And yeah, so that's just basically a little tutorial of a house design that I sort of just made up. And, you know, you could use any sort of design like this, but it's something that is very minimalistic, and you use those things like we used the free flooring, and we used $2 wallpaper everywhere, and we used half walls here instead of using an entire room and a door. That would be way more expensive. So we just used half walls and a little bit of split leveling to make the room its own space. And then you have a nice little defined area. So yeah, there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and, you know, I hope you guys enjoy playing your legacy challenges and your rags to riches challenges. I know that I do, and I've been sitting on these little tricks and tips and things that I've discovered along the way this whole time. So yeah, hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye.